for that wonderful elevator music to start. Good morning, everyone. The elevator music has started, so that means we are getting ready to kick off our next business at breakfast here in just a few minutes. We're going to start letting everybody in. Good morning, Abby Hensley. Good morning, Alan. Welcome, Lou Carter, Marty Wiles. Good morning, Alan. Dr. Brannon, Valerie Warren. Good morning, Sharon Purchase. Michelle, I've got some text messages. People are requesting some romper room background music for next time, I believe. I still don't know what that sounds like because I don't remember a romper room, and you wouldn't either if I don't. So
I don't know what that is.
Maybe we're going to have to look into it.
Maybe.
Good morning, Renee Pfister. John Roberts has joined us. Good morning, Dr. Jackson. Good morning to Amy Futrell. Good morning to John Cochran, Lori Knoll, Mark McLemore, Peter Sahara. They roll in at like 5 at a time, Michelle, so I'm trying to catch everybody. So if I don't see your name, just know that you're welcome, but I try to welcome everybody as they come in. Sometimes we get 5 at one time and I'm having to scroll, but could be the elevator music that makes me a little sleepy or something. I don't know. Good morning to Christian Barnes, Michael Dobbs, good morning, Daisha Barger, Kenny Roth, good morning to Emily Parker, Heidi Schultz, Gina Winchester. We'll be starting here in just a few minutes. Good morning, Zach Dunlap. Joe Bogle, Burton Young, Brian Overby. Welcome, Charles Taylor. Aaron Linky. Mary Beth Imes. Stephanie Steele. Janet Haley. Good morning to Stacy Orr, to Tim Stark. I think we're getting closer, aren't we, Michelle? It looks like the 8 o'clock hour has hit us. Are we still letting people in?
So that means it's time to start.
As always, we are always happy to have business at breakfast. We are still on Zoom though, and Michelle and Haley and I have all talked. This is our hardest breakfast to miss. because there's always the great smell of bacon, because it's the Kentucky Proud, it's ag, it's all the things that all of us should appreciate and love. Back when I was in the leadership class, there were little cans of homemade jelly for each one to take. People who didn't, there may have been a person in my class that confiscated a lot of those in her purse as she left. So she was eating Kentucky Proud jelly for a long time. I won't call her out, Daisha Barger. But it's always our favorite breakfast because there's all the good things that we all enjoy so much. Spring is in the air. If you do not have pollen on your car, it must be locked in your garage, and even it's escaping into there somehow. But we're so happy that each one of you always take time out to join us for Business at Breakfast, whether it's on Zoom or in person. We are so happy that Commissioner Quarles always puts us on his agenda. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of our program. We're also thankful for Hudson for always being a great sponsor to us. And I'm going to stop rambling and going to quit romper, stomper, booing, whatever that is that I get text messages over. And I'm going to hand this over to our president and CEO, Michelle Bundren. But on behalf of the board, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, and thank you, Jeanette, for that warm welcome. And we always love this breakfast to talk about agriculture, not only in Kentucky, but agriculture is such a large industry here in Callaway County. And before I go into some chamber updates, we have a special guest who is no stranger to the agriculture community here with us. You can see him on our screen. Tony Brannon with Murray State University is there. And so, Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce to us who you have in the room this morning.
Well, thank you. First of all, we had a Kentucky Proud breakfast this morning from live from Murray State. It's the Ag Leadership Council breakfast, and we're now masked up here because we're on campus. But our Ag Leadership Council meets every Wednesday morning at 7:30. So some of them have remained here in the room, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to put the spotlight on agriculture. Agriculture at Murray State continues. On behalf of all 1,177 of our students that we had in the fall, we thank the community for the support. We've been able to continue some limited activities this year because agriculture is essential. Our farm labs have continued. Everything about agriculture here, we tried to continue. We've been meeting by Zoom, but this morning we stepped out and Racer Safe and Healthy had an ALC meeting. And I'm here to introduce Kristen Shaw and Presley Woodrum, who's our leaders. Dr. Jackson presented them last week with the Racer Safe and Healthy Award, and I'm going to let them tell you about their activity.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. My name is Kristen, and I'm serving as the chair this year of the Ag Leadership Council. And of course, as with most of our clubs on campus, we faced a lot of difficulty trying to have some of our regularly scheduled events. Because of the nature of all of us getting together in agriculture, we just absolutely have not been able to have some of the events. But one thing that we absolutely wanted to continue was our Hunger Initiative program. So we started something off last year, and we incorporated racer athletics and the rodeo team and a lot of different avenues on campus to raise support for our local meat line. And this year, that was not an option for us to have such a campus-wide event. So we limited it to our Hudson School of Agriculture clubs and organizations. And we supported the Callaway County Meat Line in their backpack program, which supplies local students in our area with individually packaged food that's able to be sent home with them on the weekends when school food is not an option. And so we definitely had to pivot given our COVID regulations. But Presley's going to talk to you a little bit about the success that we had and still being able to feed the local community. So thank you.
Like Kristen said, my name is Presley. Good morning, and I am the vice chair of ALC. We still want to be able to have an impact on the local community here while making sure it was safe and healthy, like our school's guidelines. So we had social distance drop-off times, and we decided to go with the backpack program because we know many students in the Murray-Callaway County area are really struggling with food insecurity. So we had an amazing turnout. I think me and Kristen personally were blown away with the results. We had nearly 2,000 items donated. Huge success, especially, the small scale that we had to do it. We had a huge turnout. We awarded 3 top winners, the Ag Business Club, the Horticulture Club, and AGR. And we're just so proud of them, and we hope to continue these efforts in the future and be able to impact our local community.
Thanks for your support of agriculture, and thanks to the chamber and all the members for support of our program and our FFA programs and other agriculture in this area. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. Brannon. We always appreciate your support, and I know you are a huge cheerleader for ag. With that McDonald's bag flashing, we know that they have some Kentucky Proud products. So thank you so much for being with us this morning and your students. We also, not only do we have Murray State students tuning in this morning, we have some high school students in this morning, and I think Haley's going to flash up their pictures this morning. This is the Callaway County High School FFA chapter enjoying a breakfast sponsored by the Murray Bank here this morning. Murray Bank is hosting them in their boardroom, and we couldn't get the camera to work, but we have a picture of them enjoying the breakfast, and they are their officers who have been invited this morning, and that is Caitlin Price, Abigail Tabers, Savannah Pittman, Lily Thorne, Hunter Rudolph, and Kaylee Guerin. So thank you for joining us this morning. They were very interested in hearing from the commissioner, and so we are very appreciative of them joining us this morning. Not only do we have Callaway County High School here this morning, but Murray High School recently inaugurated an FFA chapter to their school, and we are joined this morning by their officers from Murray High School. And so Haley's going to flash up that picture if we can get it really quickly, and we will show that they are tuning in this morning. Always excited to have them here. This is Claire Whitaker, Autumn Mayer, Kelly Parr, Jesse Adams, Carson Gillum, and Lane Holmes. So thank you to our two high schools for tuning in this morning to hear about agriculture. We are so excited when we have FFA programs and all that you do for our community. We know it's a wonderful program for our students to get engaged in leadership across the state. So thank you guys so much for joining us this morning as well. The chamber always has lots of things going on, and like Jeanette said earlier, we miss that wonderful menu of Kentucky Proud products sourced from all across the state, the jams and jellies, the honey, but we aren't missing out completely. A few of you will randomly be selected to receive some Kentucky Proud baskets we have here full of items from our local community, honey, plants. We've got a bouquet from Harris Farms. They do beautiful wildflowers. We've got some Hudson items, jams, jellies, all those things sourced. And we have about 6 or 7 baskets that you guys who are attending this morning will randomly be selected to win, and we'll get those to you this afternoon. The farmers market, I know it's represented in the basket as well. That will begin next month, and we have one of the best farmers markets in the state. So definitely looking forward to that opening next month. We will continue to promote that as well. But we have wonderful vendors, not only for produce, but flowers and handmade items. We have some Inky Squid soap in some of the baskets this morning. So great products here sourced locally. The chamber, hopefully this is our last virtual business at breakfast. We are hoping in the fall to resume in-person events, and we actually have our first one lined up with Dr. Jackson, who's joining us this morning. We're going to hear an update from Murray State University. What a year trying to coordinate a university, parents and students through a pandemic. They have done a great job, and we're going to hear all about that in September. We will launch that schedule very soon, but we are hoping this is our last virtual breakfast. And so we are looking forward to in-person events this fall. Our annual dinner will be October 15th, so save the date. But in the meantime, you can be nominating for those business awards: Emerging Business of the Year, Citizen of the Year, Business of the Year, nonprofit, and we talk about young professionals as well, and women in business. And I know Sharon Furchess is joining us this morning, former Women in Business of the Year winner, and I know huge cheerleader for agriculture across the state, and we are proud of her representing not only agriculture, but Callaway County across the state as well. So I know the commissioner is very familiar with her and works with her very closely. But this morning would not be possible without our sponsor. Hudson Inc. Is always a great supporter, not only of the chamber, but of the community and of the region. And we are very thankful for their support. And this morning we have Matt Ramage representing Hudson to join us. And the company was founded in 1928. And they are known for innovative agriculture products and services. And they pride themselves on strong customer service and growing together with the local community. So I'm going to turn this over now to Mr. Ramage to share a little bit more about Hudson. And again, we appreciate you this morning joining us. We can't hear you this morning, Mr. Ramage. I don't know if, let's see what we got.
What about the phone call?
There we go. You're good.
Okay, great. So on behalf of the 400 employees that make up Hudson Incorporated, thank you so much for the opportunity to be a sponsor for this event. Spectacular event. We certainly appreciate the opportunity. I'm filling in for Josh Wagner. Josh Wagner is our president. We have a peer group meeting this morning with other John Deere dealers, always trying to understand, are we performing up to specs or not? But just to give you kind of an insight on where we're at as far as agriculture in Western Kentucky and the current state of situations, obviously broadacre crops are at an all-time high as far as commodity prices in the last few years. We're rolling as far as planting. I mean, we've had exceptional weather conditions and our customers are in the field and they're busy. And this is going to be an outstanding year. There's no doubt about it. But the reality is we're still faced with a lot of the issues that are still pandemic related. So I just wanted to give a little insight on what we are dealing with as far as an organization. As many of you may know, we have a pretty significant microprocessor shortage. There was a particular manufacturing facility in Japan that had a fire, and they produced about 6% of the global demand for microprocessors. So that's created a pretty serious microprocessor shortage. It has reduced the number of new units coming into the market as far as ag and turf and construction equipment. Obviously, it's impacted lots of other businesses too. But just as a little bit of insight into what we are dealing with on a daily basis with agriculture in Western Kentucky is a shortage of GPS receivers. So GPS receivers, 20 years ago didn't really matter on the farm, but today everything that we do is precision ag based. It's all about putting the right amount of product in the right spot for the right productivity, and that results in return on investment. So I was going to do a little show and tell so that we have an understanding of what's going on. But this little thing is about the size of a bread box. So it's not very big, but it does include a GPS receiver and a microprocessor. And so there's a pretty significant shortage of these GPS receivers within the John Deere community. And now there's a pretty serious risk of theft of these items. So we're seeing a number of these units go missing from the farm. They're going missing off of tractors in the field. And they're being sold on eBay and everywhere else for an exorbitant amount of money. So it's not been too long ago, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen one of these little things that are the size of a bread box sell for about $25,000. So we just need everybody to be aware that there is a pretty significant shortage of electronics that relate to agriculture, but we certainly appreciate the involvement of the Chamber of Commerce and all of its members, and are thankful to be a sponsor of today's breakfast.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramage. It's amazing to me how much technology has changed agriculture as well, with having several farm friends, and it's amazing they can ride in the truck and just sort of just barely even drive it almost. And so the importance of and how much technology has changed agriculture is so interesting for me to learn about. So thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sponsoring our event. Appreciate Denham coordinating this as well. I know he's a vital part of your team, so we appreciate his efforts, and he's a part of our Young Professionals program. So great individual to have in our community. So now we're going to turn the program over to the reason you're all here this morning. Dr. Ryan Quarles serves as the Kentucky Commissioner of Agriculture. He was first elected to that position in 2015, and he was reelected in 2019, winning the majority of the counties. And he graduated from the University of Kentucky in 2006 with 3 undergraduate majors and 2 graduate degrees. In 2008, he was awarded a full scholarship to Harvard University and graduated with a master's degree in higher education. He returned to Kentucky in 2010 to complete his legal education at the University of Kentucky. He received his doctorate in higher education from Vanderbilt University in 2018. Dr. Quarles grew up on his family's farm in Scott County, so we know that you are a farmer at heart. His family has lived and farmed in central Kentucky for more than 200 years. So thank you so much, Commissioner Quarles, for joining us this morning. And now I'm proud and happy to turn the program over to you.
Thank you so much, and good morning, and good morning on God's time in central Kentucky. I too wish I was with you in person this morning. I'm gonna just have a few opening remarks, but I really would like to have some questions and answer. That's the part of these presentations I love the most, but Callaway County feels like a second home to me. A lot of folks you already mentioned this morning are very close friends of mine. Sharon Purchase is like a surrogate mom to me. But because Tony Brannon is in the crowd, and I spoke to his Ag Business Club last night, despite those degrees you just mentioned off, the most important degree I got was an honorary degree from Murray State University. So I guess you could say I had the best of both worlds, a UK education, but a degree from Murray State. And I must say that if we could clone Dr. Brannon and have more of him across the state, our ag education would just be phenomenal. And there's one thing he and I keep in common, and I know Mark Wilson's gonna love this, but we are big orange fans up here in central Kentucky. And our tractors are so old that they don't need GPS units. You just find a fence post on the other side of the field, and you just try your best to have a straight line. That's a good day for us. But we're gonna talk a little bit about ag tech here in a few moments, but we're very thankful for Hudson for your sponsorship of not only this event, but of so many events in the region. And you're right, agriculture is a special place in West Kentucky. In fact, when we look at our farm cash receipts, which are about $6 billion a year that go into the back pockets of our farmers, West Kentucky outperforms the rest of the state because you're so heavily dependent on what's going on in the fields. And just to pull a few statistics about Callaway County, you have 710 farms just in the county, and you're farming 135,000 acres. Just to put that into perspective, 135,000 tillable acres or workable acres, sometimes you have to take 2 or 3 other counties combined to really get the same sort of acreage. And the other neat thing is that the number of women who are producers in Kentucky is very high. 35% of all of our farmers are women, and 10% of all of our farmers wore a uniform for the military before they returned to the field. And so we've got a very diverse workforce. Also thrilled to see the 4-H and FFA participants this morning. I would not be where I'm at today if it had not been for being a Clover Bud or wearing those blue corduroy jackets. And so thank you for your sponsorship and inclusion of those groups. Every year we raise about $600,000 for our Ag Tag program through your county clerk each year. And so thank you for giving back and supporting those great youth organizations. So the state of agriculture, you heard a little bit about it. 2020 was a disastrous year on so many different metrics, but for farming, we were socially distancing in the fields for decades, long before it was required. And so for us, 2020 was actually a pretty strong production year, a lot of personal record high yields across Kentucky. And so the prices actually upticked in the last quarter. So it's been pretty strong. And 2021 is on pace to being a pretty good planting year so far. And I just wish the best for our farmers to get out in the field. So this one word of advice, please take time to slow down if you're around farm equipment. Our farmers want to get home safe to their families just like you do too. And some of our equipment's very large, you know this. So just have a little patience if you get stuck behind a planter this spring. Speaking of COVID, if there's one silver lining that I could pull from what happened last year, it's this, is that because so many folks had to press the pause button on their daily routines, a lot of folks, including myself, spent a little bit more time in the kitchen, and folks learned to reconnect with local agriculture. Our Kentucky Proud sales had a phenomenal year in 2020, as many Kentuckians went to the grocery store or hopefully went to a farmer's market for the very first time. And yes, I can say that Callaway County has one of the best farmers markets in Kentucky. So we have 160 plus farmers markets. They're open for business. So please support your local taste buds by buying local as well. But last year, one of the first things we did as students transitioned to learning at home was get a critical waiver so that we could legally pass out school lunches and breakfasts and hot meals that they could take home. Food insecurity is a big issue in our state. And so getting the opportunity to be one of the first states in the country to pass out food for our kids was a big win for us. As you all probably could guess, if a kid and student has an empty stomach, the last thing they want to do is learn. And so it really affects career trajectories and where folks are going to end up in life. And so appreciative of our school systems being able to do that and position and pivot. It also, COVID-19 also redefined the term essential. Agriculture was exempt for the most part from most of these executive orders, and they still are today. And it goes to show you from the White House to the governor's mansion, all the way down to local government, that there was an emphasis put on agriculture that was not just essential, but it reminded folks that eating is necessary. And unfortunately, we had to remind some folks in government that farmers just can't wait for an arbitrary date to plant their crops. I know that's a simple concept, but we actually had to educate some policymakers that you just can't arbitrarily shut them down for a couple months, that we have to get out in the fields. In a point of personal privilege here, if you all know of any of our employees at the Kentucky Department of Ag, we have over 200 of them, half of them don't have an office in Frankfort. They work out of their truck. Their inspectors are keeping our livestock markets open. They're inspecting everything from gas pumps to weights and measures, even every airport in Kentucky, every checkout kiosk at Walmart, Kroger, you name it. Our Kentucky Department of Ag plays a consumer protection role. We have employees that to this date have yet to take a single telecommute day. They've been out and about. Please say thank you. If you see a blue vehicle with the state seal on the side, chances are it's one of our hardworking employees. Just say thank you. We kept our streams of commerce open for business in 2020, and that was a big win for us compared to other states. So what's Kentucky agriculture in a statewide context? We have 76,000 farms. We have a lot of farms. A lot of them are small, although in your part of the state, some of them are quite large, and they're competing with some of the most efficient operations actually in the world, not just the United States. And that's what makes American agriculture special, is that despite some of the challenges our industry faces, we're still part of the safest, most abundant food supply system in the world, bar none. And a lot of those folks are right there across the lakes in your part of the state. We have over 200,000 jobs related to agriculture in Kentucky. So when we talk about ag, it's actually economic development. And it doesn't matter if one farm increases their workforce by just one person, or an agribusiness, or Hudson opens up a new facility and hires new mechanics, et cetera. All of that means more jobs and economic development. And there's only one industry that employs more people than agriculture in Kentucky, and that's manufacturing. So I like to remind all of our local officials that agriculture is a big part of Kentucky's gross domestic product, and that's a good thing. In fact, we're responsible for $46 billion of economic activity in our state. Clearly, 20% of the economy is agriculture. And where do these products end up at? Well, Dr. Brandon already showed you. We sell a lot of chicken to McDonald's. In fact, over 190 million pounds of Kentucky poultry go into chicken nuggets, Chick-fil-A's, and that's just McDonald's alone coming from Kentucky producers. That's a lot. Colonel Sanders would be proud that we're such a big poultry producer here in Kentucky. But also every biscuit in McDonald's comes from Kentucky. Anywhere in the East Coast of the United States, it's that wheat is transported just across the lakes over to Hopkinsville and made into flour. and then put out across Kentucky, across the United States. If you ever had any sausage ever from any Cracker Barrel in the United States, that sausage came from Kentucky, came out of Simpsonville, the old folks' good old country sausage. Every time you fill up your tank with gasoline, 10% of it is corn. And in some cases, hopefully a little bit more than 10% if you're on flex fuel or some other blends that we just got approved through the legislature. And so you're literally putting crops into your gas tank that's being processed right here in Kentucky. And here's one that's going to make you scratch your head. Kentucky's actually has the biggest peanut butter processing plant in the world in Lexington, Kentucky. We don't grow peanuts last time I checked, but we're going to add value to those, and we do it in a very, very big way. Which brings me to my next point. The Kentucky Proud program is, in my opinion, the most successful marketing program Kentucky's ever had. When Billy Ray Smith first launched this 20 years ago, who knew that it would turn into such a model, gold standard for marketing? In fact, 30 other states have met with us to try to model their own state marketing programs after ours. We take that as a point of privilege and pride, and it's a simple program. Use tobacco settlement monies to diversify ag and help promote anything that comes off of Kentucky farm and process there as well. And so we have spent 2020 working with our restaurants, which have been decimated, in my opinion, by some needless shutdowns and needless capacity restrictions, even in April 2021. Just yesterday, we kicked off a restaurant roundtable across the state where we're meeting with chefs and workers and food distributors about what we can do to strengthen the local food supply. And I'll just give you one example. If you went to a grocery store exactly a week ago today, you may have seen for the first time in your life something that's a foreign concept as an American, and that was a temporary meat shortage or limitation on how much meat you could buy at a grocery store. You know, oftentimes we associate these pictures with developing countries, et cetera, something of the past. But since World War II, we really have not seen such a major disruption to our food supply system. And so we decided to focus on strengthening our meat processing capacity in Kentucky by using tobacco settlement dollars. And we've invested $3.5 million so that we can process Kentucky Proud animals right here in our state so they don't leave, and help bolster our local food supply system as well. So we're going to be hitting the road. We're actually going to have restaurant roundtables around the state, listening to their needs. A lot of them are just wanting to open back up, do it safely, get bodies in seats so they can justify the expense of hiring a cook and turning on the stoves. And so that's something we're going to be working on here in the near future. We just got out of a successful legislative session, and you all have two great freshmen representing you all, Representative Imes, the other Imes, and Senator Howe as well. And they both great advocates for ag. They supported our legislation. Senator Howe actually sponsored a bill that had to do with the State Board of Agriculture. And so we're very appreciative of that. But one of the things that they accomplished was not only getting a budget done, which we're very happy with the outcome with at the KDA, but we also were able to stave off probably some bad ideas. And so when there's only 2% of the population engaged in agriculture and production agriculture, feeding the other 98% and feeding other countries because we're such a big exporter, sometimes people forget their farm roots or may file legislation that may have good intentions but bad consequences. And I'll just give you one quick example that I shared with some students last night at Murray State. A few years ago, there was some legislation that was being sponsored that had to deal with the coal mining equipment and moving it across state roads. Well, the regulation that was proposed said that if there's dual tires on these big pieces of equipment, you need to take them off if you're going to transport it on a state highway. And so that regulation did not account for agriculture. And in fact, we had to sit down and talk with someone about why dual wheels are on large pieces of equipment like combines and tractors. And the comment was made, well, why can't you just take them off every time you cross the road? Well, that happens every single day. And I know it's kind of a funny thing now, but we actually had to sit down and explain to them how necessary it is and how disruptive a rule designed for a different industry would adversely affect agriculture. So we're constantly working with Kentucky Farm Bureau, other advocacy groups, not only in Frankfurt, but Washington, D.C. And also we want to say a special thank you to our legislators for taking a stand in restoring balance of powers in Frankfurt. And the legislature is a co-equal branch of government. I'm thrilled that they asserted that this past session. We're working hard to make sure that we have a Kentucky State Fair. Last year, a lot of our surrounding states straight up canceled it without even considering the alternatives. But here in Kentucky, we made the conscious decision that because our 4-H and FFA students have worked so hard to prepare for livestock judging shows that didn't happen, or livestock showing shows that didn't happen, that were canceled because most of our county fairs were canceled last year, that we wanted to give those kids just one chance to show off the product of their hard work. And so we did have a state fair last year, socially distanced, and one that was focused on the roots. And we had an amazing livestock show in Louisville, Kentucky. This year, we're already planning on having a full-blown fair, probably some modifications, but we look forward to it. But more exciting, our county fairs are getting back into planning stages. Most of them are good to go this year. And more importantly, our local livestock judging circuit will be on schedule this year. And we hope to have not only our big one at Murray State, Western, and Moorhead, but also ones in your neck of the woods as well. So we're very appreciative of that. Another big issue in agriculture right now is ag technology. As you all heard earlier, you simply cannot run a modern farming operation without modern technology, whether it be GPS units, sensors. You can run greenhouses and center pivots off your phone these days, and that's going to only continue to become more complex. And that's a good thing, because not only are Kentucky farmers leaders in this, but they're also thought leaders as well. That technology that's being experimented with John Deere, a lot of times that equipment comes to Kentucky. State-of-the-art prototypes come to our state first before they're commercialized, and that's a compliment for us. We have large-scale greenhouses being built across the state and across the southeastern part of the United States as well. And so a nice tip of the hat to Murray State University, because they are oftentimes already engaged in ag technology research that other areas of the state catch up with years later. So I'll always look forward to seeing what the new gizmos are that Tony Brandon and the ag groups are working with out on our farms. And that's a good thing, because what Kentucky farmers adopt oftentimes is what's the industry standard years later. And that's a big deal for us. And my last point before moving on is broadband internet. We have to do a better job of making a commitment that if you live in rural Kentucky, you have access to the same quality of internet as anywhere else in Kentucky, whether you live in Lexington, Louisville, or down a dusty dirt road. It is time for us to do that. The legislature stepped up big time, putting $300 million in for last mile connectivity funds. We were there advocating for that, and we're so proud that they put that in the budget. We're also working on a national level to put money in any future infrastructure bill, future coronavirus aid packages for broadband infrastructure. And I have the honor to be selected by my peers this year to be national president of all the ag commissioners. And so we are working with the administration right now, placing an emphasis on putting major bucks into rural broadband internet. And you all know why this is important. It's not just about farming, it's about educating so kids can learn at home. It's about zooming into work with telecommuting. It's also about healthcare, as the healthcare industry changed itself this past year with telemedicine. And so it's an equity issue, and it's no different than our grandparents and great-grandparents electrifying rural Kentucky back in the 1930s and 1940s. And so we're going to be fighting hard for federal dollars, thankful for what the legislature put in this session, but it's time to finally lay that last mile and give rural Kentucky the internet that it deserves already. The last point is one that Murray State students pointed out this morning. This past year, as the governor shut down major parts of our economy, and we had a 40% unemployment rate, the highest in the nation, a lot of Kentuckians lost their jobs. They did not go back to work, and many of them had trouble putting food on their tables. And this is where the Kentucky Hunger Initiative really stepped up. Back in 2016, we had a bold initiative that said, look, Kentucky is a state that punches above its weight class. We have an abundance of food. Our farmers outperform all their metrics. If we have such an abundance of food in our state, why do so many Kentuckians go to bed hungry at night or face food insecurity? In fact, before the pandemic, 1 in 7 Kentucky adults were food insecure, and 1 in 5 Kentucky K through 12 students food insecure. Post and during the pandemic, those metrics only got worse, as you can imagine. Right now, it's 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 4 K through 12 students food insecure, some of the highest rates in our nation. And so we're so appreciative of what the students have done to raise money and resources and donate food for the Kentucky Hunger Initiative, as we saw a 30% increase of the number of Kentuckians going to food banks, many of whom went there for the very first times in their lives. And that need is still very strong right now. And I know that a lot of folks put an emphasis on raising money, donating food around the holidays, and that's great. But this has been a long, dark winter, and it's been a tough spring for us. And so if you all would like to chip in, tomorrow we are holding a virtual fundraiser across the state with a Feeding Kentucky organization. We're asking you to take 25, to give 25. You take 25 seconds and go to the Feeding Kentucky website, feedingky.org, and donate $25. We will guarantee that money goes towards helping a Kentucky farmer offload their produce, put it into our food banks, and so it helps the local farmer out as well. Farm Bureau stepped up in a big way. They donated $500,000 this time last year. Other big donations along the way, but the need is great, and we're going to continue until we know that our food insecurity rates are as low as they possibly can be, fundraising for this as well. So we really do appreciate that. I look forward to answering some questions. I do have 2 homework assignments for you real quick. If you haven't visited the Callaway County Farmers Market, put that on your to-do list this spring when they open up. There's no better way to support Kentucky Proud and support the local agriculture movement than to reward your taste buds and go sign up for a CSA or buy local at your local farmers market. And then secondly, I encourage you to get your hands dirty. It's planting season. I know we got a little bit of moisture out there right now, but our farmers are running wide open. How about you all do the same and maybe plant a tomato on a windowsill, till up a little extra land in your backyard, and plant a victory garden. You can go to your Callaway County Extension office right now and check out a program that we reinvented last year called the Victory Garden Program, that really had a World War II-esque feel about learning how to grow your own food. And if you've got kids or grandkids, there's no better way to teach them about the science behind agriculture than to let them get their hands dirty this summer. And hey, you can have some homegrown Kentucky Proud food coming out of your backyard this year. So Michelle, happy to answer any questions.
I think it's funny, and I'm laughing because you said grow your own food, because last year I tried growing tomatoes, and when they got ready to turn red, a deer or many deer would come and eat them. And so I was not successful at all last year in growing tomatoes, but I was very thankful for the farmer's market because I was able to get fresh tomatoes there. But yes, try it. You know, there's tons of, landscapers and nurseries here that have beautiful flowers and products for us. So yes, I'm going to try it again. I'm not going to give up, but that's some great thoughts. Well, I know we have the high school students on here this morning, and I know we have some other questions, and we talk a lot about the future of workforce. Can you maybe share with us in the next 5 to 10 years, what types of agriculture jobs are out there or available for these students to be a part of? Because sometimes you think a farm, you think the family succession plan, but what are some of these students looking forward to in terms of job opportunities in the future?
Great question. The next generation of agriculture jobs are going to be highly skilled, highly educated, and quite frankly, we need the next generation to step up to the plate. We need the next Elon Musk, the next Thomas Edison to come from Kentucky to help agriculture out. Just one example of this, we have some large-scale greenhouses being built right now. They require highly skilled management practices to sustain those. When you talk about increasing yields by 1 or 2%, out in the field that requires an agronomy background, a plant and soil science background. That imagine if you go to a farmer today and say, I'm gonna hire a specialist straight out of Murray State University that can increase my yields by 2%. They're going to say yes. Another area of growth in agriculture will be biopharmaceuticals, where we combine the growing of plants with medians for medicine. We've seen this most recently with an Ebola vaccine that was grown using a Kentucky tobacco plant up in Owensboro. There's a whole class of next generation medicines that we think are going to be grown through agriculture as well. And of course, we talked about satellites. There's this new Starlink technology that Elon Musk is investing big in. We're going to need to have folks that know about autonomous equipment, folks that know about high precision on your mobile phone or apps, management of farms and resources as well, because we know that Kentucky agriculture is conservation oriented, that we treat the environment in a very, very respectful way. But we know that there will be some public policy concerns that are going to, hopefully not, but probably will put more constraints on our farmers. And so it's so important that we not just do it great, but we do it well and we do it in a sustainable way.
We have a couple questions. Sharon Burgess had shared to share the legislative updates, which I feel like you did a great job at that. And then we appreciate you representing, on the national level, the broadband issue. I know here in Callaway County, Judge Executive Imes and his wife Beth are very passionate about broadband and getting that into the community as well. So we appreciate that. We do have a question here from WKMS. You might be able to see it at the bottom, but you've recently said it's time to reopen Kentucky. Can you share a little bit about your thoughts on that, about, once people get vaccinated, and what do you feel like reopening Kentucky should look like?
Yeah, great question. I think that with the vaccine being readily available, and again, I think it's a personal choice. I took it. I finished my second dose this past week, and I think that that's a great tool to help us reopen. But I think that that's a personal choice that you need to make on your own. But I think that it's time to reopen Kentucky, and there's no better example of this than to go talk to folks who run restaurants right now. We know that the contact tracing data in other states show that that restaurants are really not the culprit here. So why keep them locked down? That if big box stores like Walmart and Lowe's and Kroger can keep their doors open, why can't small town mom and pop America do that as well? And so I think that I think the biggest issue has been inconsistencies and confusion about guidance coming out of the governor's office. And I think at this point, that it's time to open back up. We actually had a successful lawsuit in Scott County last Friday, where a group of restaurant owners challenged the governor. And actually, they relied upon the recently enacted laws that our legislature just passed concerning executive orders. And the judge said, look, the legislature spoke, and we are a co-equal circuit court in Kentucky. You can go to any circuit court in Kentucky now and air your grievances against the state. You don't have to drive to Franklin Circuit Court. And so we know that case is automatically going up to the Kentucky Supreme Court. And so look, the Kentucky I know is a Kentucky with common sense, that we are smart enough to comply with CDC recommendations, but I think it's time for us to open Kentucky back up right now, because other states are doing it, including a state just a few minutes drive south from where you are today, that we can do this, be smart about it, and unleash the economic potential of Kentucky. To answer Sharon's question about legislative affairs, I'll just add a couple more bills. We had a bill that affected the State Fair Board. That was a good one that put emphasis on making sure we have great agriculture leaders on that. We also had the Ag Development Fund move over to the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. So we're actually in the middle of that transition right now. We are committed to making sure that there's no disruptions to our agribusinesses and farmers who rely upon the Ag Development Board and the Ag Finance Corporation. And just on Monday, we announced the new executive director, Brian Lacefield, will be running that office. He worked most recently for USDA. here in Kentucky. And so he's going to follow in Warren Beeler's footsteps, and he's going to do a great job.
Warren Beeler is a great advocate for Kentucky agriculture. He's no stranger to Callaway County either. We've had him several times, and we always appreciate his stories. He's a great storyteller, so we definitely will miss Warren, but excited for his, to meet his new representative as well. WKMS, I don't know, you can see asking, but is there any public health guidance or information that you use to form your opinion? Or, I know you said you talked to restaurant owners, but any public health information you feel like has led you to that opinion?
Yeah, I think that my opinion on this has been based on talking to Kentuckians and talking to the fact that a lot of the current guidance is not being followed around the state anyway. And the fact that that I think that Kentuckians have enough personal responsibility to be smart about this. And also, this is what we're hearing from restaurant owners, both in Northern Kentucky, Lexington. We're going to be in Louisville tomorrow, and that's a consistent thing, is to make sure that that we use common sense, but also if other states can do this, so can Kentucky.
Thank you. Representative Imes has a question for you. To what extent will your office be involved in the allocation of the 2 funds to provide the last mile for broadband? Callaway County has already done their survey and we're shovel ready.
Oh, I think that that Callaway County, I think, is going to be teed up to be a great model for the rest of the state, because you do have your study done. The $300 million that was referenced is actually going to be going through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. So that's not my office. We would have preferred to help administer those funds, because Kentucky Department of Ag best knows rural Kentucky. But I think that we're going to start seeing some cascading effects here this summer that's putting a lot of emphasis on getting the last mile put out. And for those of you who may not be aware of this, but that is the most expensive part of rural broadband. You've heard about the middle mile perhaps, and that's like the heavy infrastructure that a lot of our private industries, some public industries have put together. But just like running electricity, it's that line from the road to your, down a rural road and up to your mailbox and up to your house that oftentimes is so expensive. And that's what these grants are there for. They're designed for underserved or areas that have no service at all right now. And so the data, we need a lot of data to help complete this task, but we're going to be there helping. We can also write letters of support through the Callaway County government to help support grants as well.
Well, as we close out this morning, I just wanted to open it up to you for final thoughts or any information we need to know before we go back to work this morning.
Well, Callaway County gets it when it comes to understanding agriculture. We're so thankful that the chamber takes a full day to say thank you, and we can virtually smell that bacon this morning. Please go out to your farmer's market. Again, thank a farmer if you see them around the county. Attend an agriculture event. Murray State has a lot of agriculture events, but your local Farm Bureau, other groups have agriculture events around the county. Go to your extension office. You never know what programs are right there. There's a treasure trove of programs that are already right there. And the other thing is that when it comes to the public health guidance, I think that the current state of affairs is that a lot of these rules didn't get public input to begin with. And so right now, I'm not sitting behind my desk in Frankfort every day. We're out hitting the road and listening to folks. And I think that listening to Kentuckians always gives you better public policy outcomes. And so that's what we're basing a lot of our opinions on right now. The last thing I want to say is a special thank you to Hudson. We're going to be hosting the National Agriculture, State Departments of Agriculture conference this fall in Louisville, and they have stepped up to be a sponsor for that. And we just want to say a special thanks. We're going to be bringing all the ag commissioners from around the United States and the Secretary of Ag, Tom Vilsack, to Louisville, Kentucky, and showcase a little bit of what we call Southern hospitality from around the country. So I look forward to being with you all in person soon. I'll be in your county soon enough. And if you haven't said thanks to a farmer, today's a great day to do it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank a farmer. And if you get behind that farm equipment, like sometimes it can be frustrating, but hey, I remind myself too, we couldn't live without them. So we have to thank a farmer, and it's a great day to do that. And we have some wonderful farmers and farming in agriculture companies here in our community, such as Syngenta. So I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. I know the Callaway County FFA greenhouse opens today, which they have Kentucky Proud products. So go by there and get yourself some wonderful products. And we want to thank all of our Murray State University students and our FFA associations for joining us this morning. Thank you to all of our businesses and our community leaders who have joined us. We look forward to being in person this fall for more Business at Breakfast. We will launch our small business series next month, so look for more information on that. But thank you so much to Hudson for sponsoring this morning, and again, thank you to Commissioner Quarles for being here this morning. So everyone have a wonderful day. Thank a farmer, and we'll see you next time in the fall for more Business at Breakfast. Have a great day.